Welcome. Welcome. This isn't on. Mike? Okay. Welcome to the August 19th, 2026 School Committee meeting. Item 1.1, District Vision and Core Values. The Barnstable Public Schools educates the whole child by creating a student-centered school culture that addresses students' physical, social, emotional, and academic needs by creating a safe and healthy learning environment in which students are challenged, supported, and engaged. Core values. In Barnstable Public Schools, we value commitment, collaboration, and community. Commitment. We are dedicated to the continuous learning and growth for all. Collaboration. We work together while keeping student needs at the center of all decision-making. Community. We build strong, respectful partnerships that support student success. Item 1.2, statement by the chair, video or audio recording of meeting. This school committee meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Item 1.3, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Highlight in education. Today we have the introduction of our new Director of Special Education, Vanessa Beauchesne, and the Assistant Director of Special Education, Abby Dudley. Sarah?
Great, thank you. So I'll invite Vanessa and Abby to come up to the podium and introduce themselves a little bit more to the committee and the community. Vanessa started with us on July 1st, and we're thrilled to have her join in our central office as Executive Director of Special Education, coming from Rentham most recently. And Abby joins us from the Monomoy District most recently and started on August 10th. And I'll turn it over to them to share a little bit more about themselves, and they also have the highlight tonight in education.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here in person. Is it not on?
Yep, you just shut it off. I just shut it off.
Okay.
Green.
No, it's not.
I'll project a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
He told me everything's good. It's just a different sound for us.
Excellent.
They must have improved the sound system.
There you go. That's a wonderful thing. Continuous growth and learning. Again, Vanessa Beauchesne, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to join the Barnstable community. And this is my 32nd year in education. And you may have heard me say this before, but I started my career in special education. And after a long journey as a paraprofessional and a teacher, principal, assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, I am really pleased to come back to special education and to be able to serve the students, their families, and the staff within Barnstable. So thank you for this opportunity.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Abby Dudley. I am joining us most recently from the Monomoy School District, where I was a middle school principal for 3 years and assistant principal for 3 years before that. Prior to administration, I spent some time on the West Coast teaching special education, running departments. Prior to that, I spent my time in the Boston area. Similar to Vanessa, I was a paraprofessional. To start, I got to serve at a charter school in Chelsea, Massachusetts, as well as a residential school in Lexington. So this is my 21st year in education, and I am so excited to be, first of all, in Barnstable. I live in the community, and I really believe in the community, and just thrilled to be working with some of our most vulnerable students and really helping them access curriculum and life.
Thank you so much and welcome to Barnstable. Any questions or comments? Andre?
Sure. So welcome. Welcome to Barnstable. Good to meet you both. I got a chance to meet Vanessa as she was interviewing for the role. So Abby, it's good to meet you as well. You've noted you've worked in a number of different districts prior. I did hear about work on the left coast in California. So how do you see that work in your former districts preparing you to work here in Barnstable Public Schools? And a little bit of background, our district's large, we're diverse, we're dynamic. And so how do you see your previous work experience coming into play and here in Barnstable with your variety of previous experiences?
Sure. Sure. So part of my personal draw to Barnstable is that it is a large school district and it is the most diverse school district, no matter how you break down the demographics on the Cape. So my previous experience has been in larger, more diverse school districts or more diverse settings. So I feel like I'll be able to draw on my experiences, perhaps even in different ways than I was when serving as a principal. But I will also tell you, being a principal kind of prepares you for anything. You never know what will happen in a day. So that experience was just invaluable in being able to handle whatever comes up.
And I'm happy to share too, just from my own personal experience, is coming from a very diverse place. I grew up in New Jersey, very densely populated, very diverse, and coming up into Massachusetts as an educator. I've worked in Attleboro, which is a larger district, very diverse, and lots of opportunities, especially when you get into the high school, as well as working in Newton and in Brookline, which is a little larger than Barnstable, but also at that time had 9 schools, similar, so a little more similar in size, working in Easton as well. I would say that I felt called to come to Barnstable because it is a large, diverse district, and I really want to be sure that when we say that we are here for each and every child, that we're able to live that out. And so I'm drawn to that, particularly being involved in a pre-K to 12 plus district where you really get to have the opportunity to provide different paths for students to take whatever their plan is beyond the high school years. So I find that exciting, and knowing that I'm going to talk about one partnership in our community already that I got to see over the summer, but being able to seek out additional partnerships within the community to build in additional opportunities for our students, I think it is thrilling, and have that opportunity to create something new. So I'm really looking forward to bringing those experiences in.
Thank you. That's helpful. Again, so much experience previous, not just here in Massachusetts. I too am from the great state of New Jersey, and so that reference looms large. Another, again, diverse place with much going on, many universities, many peoples from different backgrounds, and so that's good to hear. And you'll be deploying those skills here in the district, and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your enthusiasm and welcome to Barnstable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to working with you. Yeah. Have a great night. Oh, they have the highlights. Extended school year highlights, item 2.2. Sorry.
No, not a problem. Oh, thank you. So thank you for allowing us just to have a couple of minutes to share some highlights from extended school year 2026. And the extended school year program is, of course, designed to provide opportunities to extend the learning momentum from the regular school year into the summer and prevent regression. And I won't take too much of your time, but I did just want to highlight, we had 125 students participate in the extended school year programs on one of our 3 campuses, either the ECELC at Enoch Cobb, West Villages, and the high school. But you can see that they represent grades pre-K through 12 plus, and we have a few different opportunities. So first, the NEC Partner Program, or the New England Center for Children. We had 37 students participate through that program. 77 was really in the extended school year programs within Barnstable and using the Barnstable staff. Again, we also had another program at the high school, which was for our post-grad students with Project Forward in conjunction with the Cape Cod Community College. So we had 125 students participate, as I mentioned, and there were also other students who were invited to participate in extended school year programs, but for one reason or another were not able to attend. So some families had different plans for the summer, but one thing that Dr. Dudley and I had been talking about was to looking for why, if there were other students who weren't able to come to the extended school year program, what else may be getting in their way. So things like timing of tutoring sessions that don't occupy the whole scope of the day, where transportation can be a little more challenging if you have to pick up and drop off a student. So whether it's transportation or the timing, those are the types of things that we want to look into so that we can potentially increase the opportunities for our students that weren't able to come for one reason or another this summer. So we'll be exploring that. And I do just want to give a shout out to my predecessor, Dr. Kim Stolowski, whose partnership with Cape Cod Community College brought Project Forward to fruition. It was a wonderful program. I apologize, I'm losing my voice. It was a wonderful program and something that we hope to continue in 2027. So that was exciting. When I had the opportunity, being my first summer, and to really get to visit some of the programs over the summer. So seeing the preschool students learning in their classroom, but also on that amazing playground and interacting with one another. It was wonderful to see them explore and learn things and see things, experiencing things for the first time, which was really great. At West Villages, I was able to join a number of morning meetings, which is a great structure to start the day and get the students ready for learning. I will say my hot potato skills have much to be desired. So I was a poor performer in the morning meeting circle, but it was a wonderful experience nonetheless. And also just getting to see the students continue to learn in reading, writing, math, and some experimental learning too. At the high school, I was able to see some problem solvers in action. And thanks to our 3 directors, we had Sasha Negron at the Early Learning Center, Jane Costello, who's a high school teacher, but she was leading the crew at West Villages, and then Laura Andrews, who was the teacher in charge, or really the administrator in charge over the summer at the high school. So I'm very grateful for their leadership, and they made it so that the students could be engaged, have fun, and feel safe. So they really did a wonderful job. Laura Andrews is also a very talented photographer and put together about 8 pictures for us to share, so you get a glimpse of a little bit of what ESY at the high school was like. So I'm just going to give a few seconds for each slide after a few thank yous. I forgot my order. So it takes many, many staff members to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So I will not read all of the names, but if you glance at the screen, you'll get to see the many people who contributed to a successful summer at Enoch Cobb. And as well as West Villages, where we had 77 students, so many, many people to thank. And this is for our Barnstable staff as well as the NEC partner staff, and at the high school. So many thanks to all of the paraprofessionals, teachers, administrators, bus drivers, everyone who's a part of the day. And now some summer learning. So there's a nature hunt. You get a glimpse of what they're doing here. You can see how happy they are doing some of the things that they love. Opportunities to be out and about. Some exploring and problem solving. Experiencing new hobbies. Hard at work. This might be one of my favorite slides. The classroom vibes. You get a little glimpse into the different types of learning activities you might have seen in the classroom. And of course, the friendships. So the time at ESY culminated at the high school culminated in a giant cornhole tournament. And I bring that up because Dr. Dudley happened to be there that day as well. And there was just a joy of being in the community that day. And all of the students were separated into different teams, yet every single one of them was cheering the other team on, holding up signs, and it was really an uplifting feeling throughout. So I hope this gives you a little bit of a glimpse of the success of the summer, and again, thank you to all of our ESY staff members.
So I know that the partnership with 4Cs was brand new, and my full-time job is at the college, so I'm familiar with the typical Project Forward programs. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, this was not the exact same program. So my question is, I'm hoping, or will the Project Forward team at the college provide you with a report about exactly how that program, what they did, and how it went off, so that you can really take a look at it to determine whether or not it's worthwhile continuing. Mm-hmm. So I would hope that they would do that.
And that is my plan, to reach out to them and make connections personally, which I have not had the chance to do yet. I was able to speak with Mr. Haskell, and he was able to share some information, but I would like to connect with them personally and just to see what we can learn from this experience, and to see if this is something that is in the best interest of our students going forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, what? I did have some questions.
Yes.
So much that you shared. I did have a few questions about our extended school year program, and we had a tremendous graduation recently, not this Monday, the Monday prior, to see some of the work of these students that I'll be getting to going forward. But I had a question. 34 students were in the extended school year. I saw were K-3 students. That's correct? 34? Just go back a couple slides there.
So 30, and yes, as far as the ESY held at West Villages, K-3 students, yes.
Yes, okay, I bring that up because I taught at the elementary level, and again, these are our first students that are going to be taking some of the statewide testing, and a recurring theme for me is early literacy, and the importance of early literacy in a student's development, and how that's kind of a bellwether as the students go on, and I had a tremendous year, and I'll work many more years at the elementary level, and I'm talking to you, so I do love language and literature and things of that nature, but I was just interested, the 34 students in the extended school year, what are they focusing on? ELA, what's the curriculum like for these students? I'm very encouraged to see that number and these students getting the extra reps so that they're going to go into the school year ready. But I just had a question, like, what is their extended school year like?
Absolutely. So that's going to depend on what their goals were also. So what their goals were within their individualized education programs. So that will drive what goals they're working on academically. So that may vary from student to student.
Understood. So am I understanding this? is this summer school? When we say extended school year, are we saying these are students, how does that, are these students that are wanting more, and more time in the classroom, students that are needing more time in the classroom, or is it a combination of both? That's why the K to 3 number jumped out at me, because I wasn't sure if students in those grades actually did summer school. Certainly at the middle school and high school, they're going to have summer school.
So
Is that something?
This is different than credit recovery, which is what we might think of at the upper grades, where students may need to, maybe they weren't able to pass a course the first time, and there's an opportunity for credit recovery. This is different. So the students that are eligible for extended school year services, they have shown that when there's a lengthy absence, like a long school vacation, or if they are out of school for another extended period of time, that when they return to school, they have lost some skills. There's some regression there. And what we want to do is provide opportunities over the summer for those students who regress when they have a long extended break. 10 weeks is a long time. So by providing continuous opportunities for learning over the summer, then we can help mitigate the impacts of a school break.
And that can be in many different areas. So you'll see the regression academically, but also with social skills. We're working with students on motor skills. So all of those things that they get to practice throughout the school year, we want to make sure that they're not losing any of those skills going into summer.
Can I jump in for just 1 second? We have a lot going on in the summer. The program that they're speaking to is specific for students who have IEPs. And as part of the team process, it's determined that they are eligible for summer programming. Conversely, we have had enrichment programs at the elementary level this summer. And Kristen talked about this, I think, in the July assistant superintendent's update, where we had Jumpstart into kindergarten at all of our K to 3 schools. We've had the 21st Century program at High West. In recent years, we've kind of had to pare back some of these enrichment programs in the summer, but not ESY. That is part of the mandated set of services that students who qualify will get pre-K to 12 plus. And then we do have credit recovery and other programs at the high school that occur through the summer. So there's a lot. I just wanted to sort of add sort of that district piece of all the things that we might be doing.
And that clarification is very helpful. I wasn't sure what the context was. I saw extended school year. Again, I'm thinking at the intermediate and secondary level, that's more summer school, but also students that would want additional credits in order to graduate early, whatever the case may be. And again, I'm very heartened by the fact that these K through 3 students are getting those extra reps, that remediation, so that they can be strengthened and they can get on a strong foundation going forward. As I noted, my emphasis on that grade level, and then early literacy, and those students developing the skills. So many great slides. I use slides, so it was great to see. And you don't necessarily have to go back through all of them, but I did see. It was great to see my former teacher, Ms. Catabriga, with one of the students out there, formerly the Astro Park, now Red Hawk Ridge. So that was wonderful. Again, this was my 8th grade, 7th grade, so let me get it right, because I had her husband in 8th grade. I needed a new setting, so Ms. Catabriga in 7th grade, Mr. Catabriga in 8th grade. I did see the students getting out to Planet Fitness, which was nice, getting out in the community, the local, and in conclusion, I did see some students working with their hands, lifting, doing some vocational style of work. Maybe, I don't know if that was at the school they were helping out, but a number of hands-on opportunities were taking place, which is tremendous, right? The students, again, I will sit and talk to you sitting down, but some of our students, they need to be up. They need to be moving. They need to be active, and then they're going to flourish. So that was, I did like all of those things that I saw.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you. All right, item 3.1, public comment. Public comment at a Barnstable School Committee meeting is limited to Town of Barnstable residents and taxpayers and Barnstable Public Schools employees, students, or family members unless otherwise permitted by the chair. Speakers will be allowed up to 3 minutes to present their material and must begin their comments by stating their name and town An extension of the speaker's time may be granted at the discretion of the chair. There will be no debate or action taken on public comment items. The committee will take items under advisement, or the individual will request an item to be placed on a future agenda. The chair will also allow public comment at her discretion during the meeting. Topics for comment should be limited to those items within the school committee's scope of authority. Is anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Item 3.2, school committee, subcommittee, and liaison reports. Facilities subcommittee, did they meet?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the Facilities Subcommittee met on July 27th. We looked at the update on the major summer projects that are taking place within the district. And then there was also a discussion of the Town Council Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee. Let me just, again, looking at the summer projects taking place at the United School, the summer projects taking place at Barnstable, West Barnstable, an update from Centerville Elementary where one of the modulars had been removed at Centerville Elementary. We did get an update. We have not forgotten relative to restrooms and the progress that's being made, the hard work of our facility staff and our custodial staff relative to our restrooms, and to make sure that those are in good working order. Further, and the work that's being done at the Performing Arts Center, AV work being done, large screen TVs added, cable, fire curtain rigging, lighting, sound updates, which we may, so that was good work to hear about. I know that we're going to be approving the new sound system there. Just make sure I have everything from CFAC. Again, CFAC, and just more about alignment between this very important institution and both our subcommittee and then the school committee writ large. Let me just. Wonderful. Usually I have to rely on Jen here, but our next meeting is August, not October. Our next meeting is August 24th, and we're going to meet at 10 o'clock for the next facility subcommittee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Policy subcommittee did not meet. Cape Cod Collaborative, is there any report?
Chair, we did not have a meeting.
Okay. Committee does not meet during the summer. I attended the CPPI leadership team meeting on July 27, which was held because the budget had been approved prior to the funding being released, and there was a decreased amount of funding, so the meeting was held to determine how to adjust the budget. It was done very fairly and collaboratively. Essentially, all of the preschool partners their budgets were decreased by the exact same amount, and there were some cuts to some administrative items, so it was not as painful as it could have been, and so it worked out fine. And that's it. Item 3.3, school committee comments. Any comments? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to speak to an upcoming meeting. During the month of July, there was a very well-attended meeting at Barnstable High School. It was the Zoning Board of Appeals, at which point the proposed shelter on West Main Street was discussed. I had a chance to be at that meeting well over 4 hours. It was great to see the tremendous turnout from the community, lifting their voices on both sides. Thought it was an incredibly impactful meeting. I did want to update the community that there will be another meeting at Barnstable High School on September 10th. There is a townwide petition has circulated for a meeting, again, relative to the proposed shelter on West Main Street, and that petition garnered enough signatures in order to necessitate a townwide meeting. And so I just wanted everyone to be aware that this is going to be on September 10th. Our meeting schedule, we're going to meet again in early September, so I will come back to this, but I did want to make the community aware, as we had very much participation at our meeting relative to this particular issue, and the committee overall, and I myself particularly, have received much feedback from the community regarding this issue, so I just want everyone to be on the same page.
Do you have a time for that meeting?
I believe it's at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
And I will, if it's not at 7 o'clock, then I will correct that going forward in September. But this is Barnstable High School on September 10th, and it's a town-wide meeting relative to the petition in the town that garnered enough signatures looking at the proposed homeless shelter on West Main Street.
Courtney?
No comment. Good luck to all the teachers and students starting school. Thank you.
And yeah, summer's pretty quiet, and we've only had a couple weeks since our last meeting. I did have the pleasure of meeting with Dr. Beauchesne and having a chat, which was great. I attended summer graduation last week. It was nice to see the students go off and continue their lives. And I also had the pleasure of popping in at the district leadership conference last Wednesday, and the one thing that I noted that I mentioned to Sarah was the energy in the room, and I kind of sneak in the back way, and the energy is just so obvious, and everybody was hard at work and happy to be there. And so I think it's going to be a great year. A lot of new faces, a lot of returning faces. And so I look forward to opening day on the 31st. So we'll see. And that's it. Do you have?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do have some slides, even though it's the summer. Even though it is the summer, we say that Barnstable, we are a large district, we are a diverse district, and we are a dynamic district, and so there is much to report during these summer months. This is a holdover. The class of 2028 picnic. These are our rising juniors. 10th graders gathered for an afternoon of free food and games. It was wonderful to see the class of 2028. These are our rising juniors. This took place at the tail end of the school year, coming together to celebrate a great school year. This was the class picnic for the class of 2028. Our theater production class closed out the school year with an outstanding final performance of Too Many Detectives at the Murder Mansion. This is a great job by the cast and crew, and a big thank you to the BHF staff and students who joined the audience in the night hall. Once again, this is our theater production class. This is closing out the school year. Too Many Detectives at the Murder Mansion. I wasn't able to get to these slides, but I will certainly not be excluding them. Congratulations to this is our junior award ceremony. These are our juniors that took place to conclude the school year. Your incredible talent, your hard work, your leadership. We are so proud of everything you've accomplished, and I'm proud that we're not just having senior awards, but also junior awards. And so a few things to wrap up the school year that I did not want to miss. Of course, these are our junior awards to conclude the school year. These are going to be our rising seniors. For our senior class that did graduate in 2026, this was their night of recognition. It was filled with pride, celebration, and well-deserved accolades. These are our graduates that are now going forward out into the world. And so these are our seniors, and this was the senior recognition night to conclude the school year. Also concluding the school year, our student athletes were recognized at the Barnstable High School Athletic Awards and collegiate signing. That's our athletic director, Henry Stevens, there passing out an award. So this, again, athletic awards, but not just awards. These are the students that have signed and are now moving on. And some of them, I noticed Kyle Coffin, our quarterback last year, are already at their institution. Kyle's at Springfield College right now, going into his freshman year. So this was the athletic awards for our students, and then those students that have signed letters of intent and are going to be moving forward and are moving forward right now into their freshman year of college. Would be remiss if I didn't recognize our spring graduation, if you will. These are students who were covered in the Cape Cod Times, our 2026 graduates, and it was a beautiful day and a wonderful ceremony. So I wanted to recognize our class of 2026 spring graduates. Want to make sure that everything is in order and proper, and they were looking tremendous. And that's Principal Canetta, who gave a word to the seniors before the pomp and circumstance began. That's our spring graduation. And congratulations to our summer class of 2026. On Monday, we proudly celebrated 22 incredible Barnstable High School graduates as they officially completed their high school journeys and earned their diploma. Your hard work, persistence, and dedication have paid off, and we couldn't be prouder of this major milestone. A huge thank you to the educators, staff, and loved ones who came out to show their support and make this event special. And I have to give a specific shout out to our day program, to our Project Excel program, and to our ACE program that work with these students so that they can reach this tremendous milestone. All of these programs together to get these students to this point. And it's students from different backgrounds. I was glad to see some of these students are graduating this summer. Some of these students were graduating early. So it's different students on different pathways reaching those achievements. Chair Bent spoke to the Barnstable Leadership Conference that took place, an inspiring 3-day Leadership Institute, from deep dive lesson planning sessions to the collaborative strategy building. The team was, as was noted, energized and setting the stage for an extraordinary upcoming school year. This is the Barnstable District Leadership Team and their Leadership Institute. I myself was glad to attend the Barnstable High School Class of 1996 reunion. It took place on August 8th, right in Hyannis at Neptune's. Very important that our alumni have a big role in what's going on in the district, and our alumni do want to have a large role in terms of what's going on in the district. These are students, and I don't mind if I'm dating myself because I remember it like it was yesterday. These were seniors when I was in 8th grade. This was our very first state football championship won by the class of 1996. In those days, the Red Raiders. So they had their 30th reunion recently, and I got a chance to talk with the class president, and they want to be involved. And I think that's a good thing. They want to still be involved in the district. They want to contribute. They want to connect with our students. And so this was the 1996 class reunion. And I don't mind tipping my hand a bit. At the next meeting, we'll be discussing the 1976 class reunion that's coming up. And so our alumni are still going strong and proud, very proud of their Barnstable roots. Kids Day took place on August 12th, right at Barnstable High School. There were games, food, ice cream, dunk tank, canine demo, tons of activity. at the backfields, where I know some of our athletic teams are now practicing. But this was wonderful. Community members enjoy it tremendously, and it's a great segue, a great connecting point between Barnstable Police Department, Barnstable Public Schools, working together. I know many of the leisure programs, our campers that are working with the rec attend this event rather, and I've heard nothing but good reports. Just an update as we move forward into the school year. That fall sports are going to start on the 24th. Please make sure to register on Arbiter and check the athletic websites for our practice times. I know teams are fast at work. Don't forget your physicals. They need to be within 13 months. That's very important. Check those physicals so that you are academically and also in terms of health and wellness, that you are ready to go. Okay, we start on the 24th. Bus pass days are coming up. August 26th and 27th, 7 to 4:45, all-day event. Make sure to get your bus passes so everything is in order and you have a seamless beginning of the school year. Our athletes are coming into the school year ready. This is our girls volleyball team who were the HYCC Summer League champions. Okay, want to recognize our volleyball team, building momentum as they go into the school year. Many championships, a very rich history with our volleyball team over the years, and congratulations on winning the championship. And in conclusion, this is something that's new in the district, and I'm very proud to report on it. Barnstable Football Family Clinic took place last week. And this is a symmetry between the Barnstable Silver Bullets, longstanding organization, and Barnstable Football, where we had both of these programs, Silver Bullets, again, decades of tradition, and Barnstable Football, more than decades. I think we go back over 100 years in terms of Barnstable football, combining. And so we see our elementary students getting a chance to rub elbows with our intermediate students, and not only that, they also get a chance to rub elbows with our varsity students. These things are huge. Again, as somebody who graduated in 2000, in the class of 1996, they were heroes to me. And so all of these different age levels together out at the high school field. This is Barnstable Football Family Clinic. I did get a chance to go over there on Monday, and it was action-packed for all parties concerned. To conclude, the Cape Cod Times has released their preseason rankings for football, and our very own Barnstable football team is ranked number 1 going into the season, according to the Cape Cod Times, coming off of the momentum that has been built up last season. And 2 of our seniors, this is Media Day that took place, where Barnstable was present with a number of high schools from the greater Boston area and from the region. These are 2 of our seniors who between them have multiple Division I scholarship offers going into their senior year, and they're looking forward to having a great year, to leading and to being examples both on and off the field. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3.4, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. I'll echo what has been shared with a big congratulations to the summer graduates in the class of 2026. It was a delightful evening in the Red Hawk Ridge to celebrate them, and want to congratulate all of our summer graduates. I want to elaborate a little bit for the community on the Summer Leadership Institute. We were about 60 persons strong with 5 new administrators for 3 days of professional learning and collaboration. As you saw in one of the slides, perhaps you noticed the title, where we focused our first morning in having some professional discourse around the role of technology in teaching and learning. It's kind of no secret that people are examining screen time in classrooms, and how much is appropriate based on the learning objectives. And so our team engaged in some professional reading and discussion on screen time, as well as both the opportunities as well as the challenges that artificial intelligence as an arrival technology presents to us. We kind of knew that we would walk out of there without clear consensus because these are complicated issues, but we will have some new AI guidelines and expectations going out in the district to start the year. We also had an update related to the district's 3-year multi-tiered system of supports work. We're going into our 3rd year in collaboration with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And so the team, under the guidance of Mo Lovett, our data specialist, explored lots of data through our open architect platform. It was a lot of academic data, but there's also the opportunity for attendance and behavioral and access scores as well. We did that in the first afternoon so that the teams could plan on the second day in school-based groups for their school improvement plans. And then in the afternoon of the second day, we had the mandatory educator evaluation training for our evaluators, but Kristen, who led that, also took the group a little bit deeper, talking about effective ways to provide feedback that is non-evaluative in more of a coaching type setting. On the 3rd day, we broke up into job-alike groups. There was a group working to get the legal update from Michael Joyce. This was very significantly focused on the new timeout, seclusion, and restraint regulations that you've been talking about. You just passed a policy, and so we were getting much more concrete about what that looks like in the school setting. And after that, a team worked on developing the local procedures. We also had the Family Resource Center come and share a proposal with us for additional family and student-based interventions that can help with attendance. And I'll talk a little bit more tonight about the Child Welfare Reform Act, which just passed, and the Family Resource Centers all across Massachusetts are going to be playing a stronger role with attendance. We had a representative from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education meet with central office leaders and principals on that last day to orient us to the integrated monitoring review, which we are going to be experiencing at the end of October. A lot of prep work has already been done. The other job-alike group that met were the curriculum coordinators and department heads, and during the assistant superintendent's report, she will talk a little bit about their work in the Bill Butler room while the rest of us were working on the other items. And it was a great, really great 3 days. It's always an exhausting 3 days because there is a lot of energy being put into both the planning and the execution. But I too agree, I think that there was a really wonderful energy and we have a really remarkable team to work with. So I'm looking forward to the coming year. That team in particular has been working really hard to make sure that we're fully staffed to start the school year. And I would say that this year is similar to previous years in terms of where we stand going into the year. We are welcoming 5 new administrators, several of whom are familiar faces because they are educators in our district who are stepping into leadership roles, but we do have a few new folks from other districts coming in. And Kristen will talk a little bit about new administrator orientation, which happened just a few days ago. We are planning currently for 31 new teachers or licensed educators, and the new educator orientation will be occurring next week, and Kristen and her office are busy planning for that. We're finding that we're able to fill many positions, but one challenge that we're facing is a lot of internal movement. And so people are interested in transferring positions and moving around to different schools. So you'll notice if you look at our posting, we have a couple nursing positions open with our new interim director of health services, with Julia Pacheco coming from West Villages into that leadership role. That has created a little bit of movement, and so you'll see some postings there. We have some vacancies for PCTAs or paraprofessionals. Many several have taken on special education teacher roles, which is great in terms of growing our own. We'll need to backfill those. Later on tonight, we're asking you to approve 3 new instructional assistant positions. We've had new students move into the district that are eligible and be appropriate for the NEC program, and so we'll need 3 new IAs. Building-based subs are annual positions, so we're in the process of filling those. We're always looking for bus drivers and daily substitutes. We have a couple custodial vacancies. I think it's 5 across all of the schools. There is some movement there as well as people kind of seek promotions or different things that may exist. So we have a handful of custodial vacancies across the district. We're still looking for a guidance counselor and 504 coordinator at the high school. We have 2 technology positions that are open. So when we get to the technology updates, keep in mind that they've not been fully staffed. So the idea that they've been able to do as much as they have has been really remarkable. And consistent with previous years, we are finding ourselves with vacancies in speech and language as well as school psychologists. And so we have been in touch with the union, and this is something that we have had to do every year since I've been here, which is offer additional work on an hourly basis to our current staff to sort of expand their caseloads and take on some additional assessments or speech services. And that probably will not fill all the gaps. We then bring on some individuals under contracted service agreements, and they work for us on a temporary basis while we fill gaps. But we've been kind of hoping but disappointed in those areas. They're very, very, very hard to fill. So that's a little bit of a staffing update. And we'll welcome our new educators to Barnstable next week. I just want to give the community an update. I don't think it'll come up tonight when we talk about facilities projects, but Enviromed, our consultant who works with us on indoor air quality, just conducted their annual thorough review of our buildings. All of our buildings are measured for temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, volatile organic compounds, and particulates. The results were very good, and as you might expect, things were within range, although temperature and humidity were high, and it's because it's summer on Cape Cod. All of the buildings were deemed safe to occupy. Our custodians have been proactively addressing and cleaning some small areas of mold if they appear, which were few and far between. There was one thing in the ceiling of BIS and maybe something at the high school, but they've been addressing those. Separate and apart from Enviromed was a larger area of water damage found at Enoch Cobb Early Learning Center. Thanks to the quick work of our Deputy Director, Katri Malali, Service Master was called in right away, and they are on top of it. And it was very, very, the issue was contained to the floor of one particular room, which was not being used this summer, and we expect it to be completed with its remediation before school opens. So that's a good report. Last year we did have a little bit more concern at the high school, so I think that Enviromed report is a really good one and reflects some of the preventative work that's been happening all year long. I'm pleased to announce to the committee and to the community that we have received we have some great news from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. They are the commission that accredits our high school. Back in June, they voted to award the school continued accreditation, and they also voted to remove the school from warning status. Barnstable High School had previously been on warning for Standard 1, which was core values, beliefs, and learning expectations, and Standard 4, assessment of and for learning. They highlighted several commendations, including positive, supportive student-staff relationships, dedicated time in the schedule for community building, efforts to improve school culture and student support, well-established specialized programs for services for students with diverse needs, improved daily maintenance and cleanliness, implemented technological updates that support safety, security, teaching, and learning, the expansion of pathway programs, the transition to a unified curriculum management platform and curriculum review calendar, coherence of schools' external partnerships, and investment in building a data-informed collaborative infrastructure for improving instruction. There were more, but I wanted to kind of hit some of the highest leverage ones. Any accreditation process always makes suggestions for continued improvement, and so the priority areas they've identified are continuing to work on written curriculum documents for all courses, which is underway, and making sure that all career and technical education programs have a program advisory committee. So congratulations to Principal Canetta and the team at the high school. This is an incredible amount of work to go through an accreditation process, and I'm incredibly proud of all of our faculty and staff, in particular at the high school. What a wonderful report to have received, and I think everybody should be really proud of those outcomes. Speaking of pride, I'm also proud of our food services department. This summer, we saw a 25% jump in participation of our summer meals program. I think on the one hand, it reflects the need, unfortunately, that exists in the community for meals due to food insecurity. But I think it also represents Maddie's innovation. She thought about putting the meals in different locations, including playgrounds. And not only were free meals given out, but arts and craft supplies were also distributed for students and families to enjoy throughout the summer. So that's a nice outcome from our summer meals program, and really thrilled to be able to continue to provide those services to families over the summer. And then lastly, the ZIP trip was at Centerville on August 7th. And I will include a couple clips from the media in my newsletter that's going out to families tomorrow, because the Barnstable Intermediate School Drama Club and the Barnstable High School girls volleyball team were showcased during the ZIP trip. And they did a phenomenal job representing Barnstable Public Schools. In addition to being highlighted at the ZIP trip, I do have a couple of updates about both of these programs, which are, as we know, award-winning. The Barnstable girls volleyball team, it was just announced that they won the 2026 American Volleyball Coaches Association Team Academic Award. They also won the additional distinction of the Team Academic Honor Roll, representing the top 20% of GPAs nationally by division. Not only that, this is the 14th straight year that they have won this award. So congratulations to our girls volleyball team, Coach Turco, and our assistant coaches. And then I said that we know that the BIS Drama Club is award-winning. Actually, the last update I gave you was about their 9 nominations in their inaugural season. They actually did win 3 awards at the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild Music Awards in June. So congratulations to that whole group. They won Best Hair and Makeup, Best Specialty Ensemble for the Lionesses, and Best Female Supporting Lead with Leah Pacheco as Rafiki. Just really outstanding work, and we were so proud of them then, we're proud of them now, and I can't wait to see how the program grows. Because they were nominated for Best Overall Musical, they also got to perform in front of over 70 schools. So just a real amazing highlight, and congratulations to the Barnstable Intermediate School Drama Club. And that's my update for tonight.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. That was a comprehensive report, so there's a number of things that you alluded to, so I'll take them in order in regard for effective and efficient meetings. You mentioned artificial intelligence and the work that's going on surrounding AI over the summer, and you anticipate having guidelines and expectations at the September meeting to share with the community or early on in the school year? Is that?
I'll be circulating them to faculty and staff. A draft was circulated at the end of the year. The updated version, which has just been returned by our school attorney, will be circulated with faculty and staff tomorrow, and then will be in the district handbook to start the year.
Excellent. And I'm glad to hear that. This has been something I've consistently alluded to. And I'll be speaking about it at the end of the meeting when we talk about future agenda items, and Barnstable being on the cutting edge, being on the forefront of this new technology, and rather than trailing behind. And so that we're going to have guidelines and expectations. I'm glad to hear that those things are going to be implemented. They'll be in the student handbook, and it's a conversation that's going to be at the forefront to begin the school year, so that we are all on the same page. And my focus on artificial intelligence is twofold. We're now talking about the academic integrity piece, which is tremendous, meaning this is the expectation for students so that they understand it, so that the teachers are well aware of it, and so that the parents are well aware of it, so that we're having this conversation now. I've seen reports in which students were caught relative to academic integrity in terms of utilizing artificial intelligence. They were caught, they were penalized, and the situation expanded from there, and reached all the way to the school committee because of the hard feelings on all sides, so on and forth. And I don't want to see that happen in Barnstable. I want there to be an understanding and a uniformity about how this new technology is being utilized. So for our and I'm an educator, but I'm speaking, I want our students to be put in a position to be successful, and I want our parents to be on the same page with us, so that if we do have issues relative to academic integrity in terms of how this powerful technology is being utilized. We talked about it for the younger kids, the importance of early literacy, and I think we have a equal, if not greater, challenge for our older students. Okay, your intellectual growth is different than what artificial intelligence can do. What a computer can do has nothing to do with the student's intellectual development. And so relying on such, and then going beyond that, using that information for their own academic work, passing that off, breaking a central honor code, it's not acceptable. We know that it's not acceptable, and I just want it to be clear from the start so that everyone understands. You can use artificial intelligence for this, but you can't use it for that. And under no circumstance should you use something that was generated by a bot or by, should you use that under your own letterhead, passing that off as your work. It doesn't do you any good, doesn't do your education any good, your future prospects. To say that what your work is, to say that what artificial intelligence work is your work. Now that's different in terms of students learning how to use artificial intelligence for whatever career, learn how to use it to better yourself. That's one thing. But academic integrity is decidedly different. And so I'm glad to hear about these guidelines and expectations out front, and everyone being aware. And if there's questions in the community, please, you know where to find me or any other district staff. If you're unsure, I don't know. It's much better that we have the conversation on the front end, because I've seen this happen relative to academic integrity and specifically to artificial intelligence, than to have the conversation on the back end when you're talking about consequences and it becomes very difficult. So thank you for that, that update. I'm glad to hear about 31 new educators joining the district, and we're glad to have them in Barnstable and the training that they're going to have, as well as 5 administrators. And we do have a strong team ready to serve a very large and diverse and dynamic district, so that's good to hear. You noted the NEC program and additional staffing that will take place later on in the meeting, students moving into the district. And to me, so that the program has to grow, but I look at that to me, we have a program that people, sometimes people just move from place to place, and then other times I think they're searching out Barnstable because of the offerings that we have, which is, I think, something to be proud of, but we need additional staffing relative to that. I appreciated your Enviromed update. And that's in the newsletter for the community to see, and that's outstanding in terms of your leadership on that. and something that has been a troublesome issue, but has been managed and mitigated. And again, that information is available to the community vis-a-vis the newsletter and was brought up at this meeting. So that's great to hear about. And in conclusion, just the awards. Our Barnstable Intermediate School Drama Program. This is something that's new. This is a program that's in its infancy. Again, as a proud Barnstable graduate alum, I go back to the work of Mr. Sullivan over many years. That was out of this world. Having an actual horse walk across our stage for the Wizard of Oz, amongst the many other things that program did. And now the drama coach, Ms. Barth, in her leadership, she's taken up the baton. And now to see that it's going down to our intermediate school and also the United School. The United School students can also participate in this drama program, and they're winning awards. They're doing a great job. And last but not least, glad to hear about the volleyball program and the academic award that they have achieved, and they have high expectations going into the season. And I know that they are ready for them. Thank you.
Courtney, do you have any questions, comments?
No, it seemed very comprehensive. Thank you for working hard through the summer.
And the only thing I just would like to comment on the NEASC and the hard work that everybody did at the high school. I know that shortly after you arrived, that was an unexpected piece of news to hear that the accreditation was jeopardized. And so that turned around very quickly in my mind, because I know how much work it is to turn that. And to have that report come back without any concerns at all is really unique. So congratulations to you, Sarah, and also to everybody at the high school. 3.5, Assistant Superintendent Report. Kristen?
Thank you. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of detail and connecting a couple of items that have been previously discussed. Sarah talked about the Summer Leadership Institute on day 3. As she mentioned, I had the opportunity to pull the curriculum leads and department heads for Job Alike group, and we really dug into planning for the coming year. One of the NEASC items that Sarah alluded to was our curriculum documents, and that was a big focus of our session. Our curriculum platform is Atlas, and so we had the curriculum leads really doing an inventory of both the courses that are listed and then an inventory of what is complete, because curriculum is never complete, and then what still needs some attention. And then second topic related to Atlas was reviewing some expectations around training for staff this coming year. We have a lot of staff, as you know, that are working on summer curriculum projects, and so all of those summer curriculum projects are going into Atlas, but we still have a handful of staff that aren't familiar with the platform yet, and so talking about the training that would happen, and we modeled the training for the group so that they'd be ready to share that with their staff. In addition to the curriculum, we also dove into our PD planning for the coming year. The first 3 half-day in-service days are department-led PD sessions, and so in the spring, I had put out information to the group with a request to develop basically a PD series with their departments, and so we used that time as a check-in, but also then to make the next steps in that planning progress. So looking for, what's your overarching theme and the goals of the PD, and then starting to build out the plan for the September session. We had some very, as you mentioned, motivated and enthusiastic staff, and they really dug into that and got a lot accomplished. So we had some high achievers in that group. And then also, one of the other pieces that we focused on, we do have our new educator orientation next week, which I'll talk about in a second. But one of the components of that is providing time for department leaders, curriculum leads, to meet with their new staff in their department. And so as a group, we agreed on kind of a core set of topics to work with or to discuss with their new staff, and then any particular items that were more maybe unique to their departments. So again, it gave an opportunity for them to collaborate and brainstorm those ideas and start to put those materials together as well. So it was a very productive and I would say successful day 3 with that group. They really engaged and collaborated. It was fantastic work. As Sarah mentioned earlier this week, although it feels like it was 3 weeks ago, we had the new administrator orientation, and we actually welcomed six new administrators for the program, and I had the pleasure of spending the day with them. We have representation of various directors and departments that come in and do some presentations with the focus on some, partially just putting names with faces, some early exposure, but also what are some of those items that you might need to hit the ground running with. Tammy Cunningham did a piece on HR, supporting personnel and personnel issues. We had HR talking about PAFs and talent ed. I will say we did get interrupted by a fire alarm, but we are flexible and we adjust. We also reviewed BTA contracts. So all of the things that we really want to make sure people have kind of front-loaded before we kick off the year. And I had a chance to review educator evaluation along with professional development and licensure. And Mary Beth Taylor provided some information around Title IX and investigations. So, none of the topics that, are fun and exciting, but really important ones to make sure that everyone is really set and knows our policies and practices. So it was a great day and a great group, and it was nice to actually have it follow summer leadership this year. Usually it's before, so there were already some relationships and familiarity. So it was a nice kind of, I'll say, closure to Summer Leadership Institute. And then finally, again, as Sarah mentioned, we do have new educator orientation next week. So it is a 3-day orientation where we'll be welcoming 30 plus educators. The Tuesday, the 25th, 26th, and then the 27th. The first day, we immerse the group with technology. They do get their devices on that first day, and then the technology department will introduce them to, again, a lot of our policies and practices, but also what platforms they will have access to at the various grade bands. And on that day, to close out the day, our department leaders will meet with their staff for, again, that introduction to all things art, music, math, depending on which department. On day 2, we shift gears, and again, that opportunity to meet with directors, learn some names and faces, know who to ask questions of. We have English language education. Our BTA president will also meet with the group to introduce them to BTA membership. We have a session on school safety and Navigate 360 with Denny Stamfel. Social emotional learning, Mary Beth Taylor will work with the group. And I will close out with mentor and induction and licensure, and then we will close that day with our annual bus tour of Barnstable, which has become a real highlight. It's a lot of fun. We take it's voluntary, so we have, I think, a third of the group has signed up so far. So very excited about that. What time does that start? The orientation, the bus tour is at 2:30, and you're more than welcome to join. And I will be the guide. Yes. It's so fun. I don't know if I'm funny. I might be a little bit. And then day 3 is, again, I will start off with some educator evaluation training. We have special education by our new team. And we'll close out with HR, benefits, and payroll to answer any questions. And our session on that 3rd day is only a half day because from there, our new educators will have lunch with their mentors, and then they will depart and go to their home schools for a school-based orientation with their mentors joining them to provide some support. So we really do try to make sure, it is a fully packed 3 days, but we do try to make sure, there's movement and change. We have some icebreakers, but also making sure it is, we we meet their needs. And we have sent out a survey to the group asking, what is one thing that, you hope to get from this? And so far, I think I've hit every mark of what they're looking for. So I'm very excited that our agenda meets their needs in advance, and certainly we can make any tweaks if there's anything that pops up that we've missed. So, and that's all I have for today. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Nope. Courtney?
I will just echo that your agenda sounds perfect. As a new educator, it can be very overwhelming that all the things that you say you're answering sound very, very helpful. And it sounds like you're doing a great job to make all the new teachers feel welcome here, which is definitely what we need. So
It's a
thank you
goal.
for that.
Thanks.
The luxury of 3 days of orientation. She kind of got thrown to the wolves. Yeah, it sounds great, and I think that tour of Barnstable, I remember you talking about that last year, so it's great. I think it sounds very thorough, so thank you for that hard work. I hear the evolution year after year. It's getting more comprehensive and more personal as well, so thank you. All right, old business.
Point of information, I did have a few questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Very glad to hear about the bus tour, and that you're going to every single school. Again, this is something that's new in the district, and for people that are new to the district, I know that we have some people that are homegrown, Barnstable graduates, or passed through Barnstable at one particular point or another, but sometimes people are moving in from different places, and so this is something that I, as somebody that has worked in different districts, working in New Bedford, where you have upwards of 10 elementary schools in the district. And if I was offered the opportunity to sit on a bus and go to every single one of those, I would have taken it to learn the community. So I think that everybody's busy. I think everyone's busy, but that 1/3 is a good percentage of people, and it just makes a world of difference. If you're not from here, learn, because that's going to give you that leg up just to understand where people are coming from. And then you can get ahead of situations. You get on the same page with the students, you get on the same page with the parents, okay? And it's all uphill from there. I mean, there's only going to be progress from there, is the point. So that's a great opportunity, something that's new in the district, and I'm glad to hear about that. Like the fact that our 6 administrators coming on board are getting an understanding of the policies and practices, and all of those brick and mortar things that I would say. So, a lot of the nuances that go along with being an administrator, things that, you might not be well, these folks have come up the ladder, so I'm sure that they are aware of these realities relative to personnel, relative to contracts, so on and forth. But again, that refiner, so that because they're going to be in some challenging situations when you're in any sort of leadership, and that they have that to start with, I'm glad to hear. Did like you talking about early exposure to the district and then to staff for some of our newer people. I like the fact that some of their initial days are going to be with their department heads, the new people. Again, as somebody proud of my years of service here in Barnstable, but I have worked in a number of districts, and those, I can just think about being in new places. That orientation really, it did wonders for me to learn about a new place, for me to meet people. You get a sense, put a face to a name. You develop that sense of a team. So that was great to hear that our new staff members are going to be prepared with their department heads so that they can develop those relationships. Professional development. To start the school year, it's going to be department-led. Wonderful. I know their staff have been working very hard on curriculum over the summer. My only question, again, dovetailing on something before, where do we see professional development related to artificial intelligence during the school year? Is that something that you foresee at a particular time? I think that's a part of the part of this puzzle, of course, is, helping the staff to understand these new technologies and giving them the training, the resources that they need. So that's my only question about PD.
Yeah, so in addition to our department-led PD sessions, we also have the October full day in service. And on that day, we've divided, so there's 2 half-day sessions. And it's choice for educators, but we are offering a session, a required session that all staff will participate in related to AI, that the AI task force is putting together. And so half the staff will do that in the morning, the other half will do that in the afternoon, and then they'll have choice on the other side. So we'll still retain our choice day. And then in the second half of the year, our PD model is we're going to be using PD strands, and we did that back in 2019. COVID shut them down. But we're bringing those back, and so while we're still working on finalizing the PD strands, we've got some interest. We asked staff to submit interest with topics, and so we'll have at least one strand that will be related to AI, and again, through the AI task force. So if you want to.
I would just add to that, the AI task force, there were 6 of us on it last year. We participated in the first cohort with MassQ, and I think we had talked about that when Bryce and Kelly were here for the presentation. We've applied to be part of the second cohort and expand that. I think we'll have up to 8 people. By participating on the task force, we'll get that ongoing professional development, a sort of a steering group throughout the year, and there will be seats available at the MassQ conference in October, around which there will be more AI, type workshops and breakouts and such. So that's what's planned. I don't doubt that there will be more things that emerge. The Department of Ed has a whole virtual series that we want to encourage staff to take, and there are other opportunities that'll come up as well.
I'm glad to hear that we're going to be equipping our educators so that they have the resources that they need, and for the district, for the people in the community to realize that we're doing our best, to be at the forefront of these changing times that we are in the midst of, and see change differences across the board. But so far as education is concerned, that we are making strides and putting considerable efforts, to be at the forefront again of what's happening. Thank you.
All right, old business. Item 4.1, approve the naming of the Barnstable High School Recording Studio as the Mark Hennessy Recording Studio. This was introduced at the July 15 school committee meeting. I received no comments. Sarah, did you?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Move to approve the naming of the Barnstable High School Recording Studio as the Mark Hennessy Recording Studio as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 4.2, revised policy ECAB, the access to buildings and grounds. This is a second read. This policy was revised to include authorized access to personnel whose work requires it. That statement was entered into the policy. I received no comments. Did you, Courtney? Okay, Sarah?
Nope.
All right.
Move to revise policy ECAB, access to building and grounds, as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 4. Are you good? Item 4.3, revised policy IKFE, competency determination. This is the second read of the policy. Our revisions were specific to the class of 2027 so that MCAS scores could also be used to demonstrate competency, and there was the addition of physics added for demonstrating science competency. I had no feedback. Did you, Courtney? No. Sarah? Kristen? All right.
Move to revise policy IKFE, competency determination, as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 4.4, revised policy KBG, Parent Advisory Councils, PACs. This is the second read, and the revisions were all based on updates as recommended by MASC, specific to the new DESE regulations. Courtney, did you get any
No.
feedback? I didn't. Kristen, Sarah? Okay.
Move to revise KBG, Parent Advisory Council's PACs as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. New business, item 5.1, proposed statewide graduation requirements.
Thank you.
Sarah.
So I have a small number of slides that have been included in your packet. So if I could get the clicker. So the governor put together a council to take a look at graduation requirements statewide. This occurred following the vote back in the fall of 2024, I believe it was, for MCAS to no longer count as competency determination for high school graduation. And the council had lots of different representatives on it. And this council was set with the charge of establishing a new statewide graduation framework, and they published their final results in June. So over the summer, through Mass Association of School Superintendents and the attorneys there, as well as the professional organization, they have kind of helped us to summarize and are advising us appropriately so to be sure that we are communicating with our communities about these proposed changes. There's a lot still that I think is to be determined, particularly around timelines, support, funding, and we'll get into that a little bit. But these changes are pretty major, and I wanted to take time during a meeting when you have maybe a little bit less on your agenda and in advance of the district improvement plan coming to you in September to give you and the community a little background about what is going to be facing us and the high school in the next couple of years. The council was chaired by the Secretary of Education and the Department of Ed's commissioner. There were teachers, students, parents, union reps, legislators, business leaders, and a representative from the Superintendent's Association. And we hosted a listening event at the high school in the Knight Auditorium with the Secretary of Education in June of 2025. It was regional. There were probably about 100 people in the audience providing input and feedback on a draft that they had started to put together. We have had two of our own educators, Erin Eastman and Albert Mercado, contributing to the work of the council in a related but separate advisory group. Erin on the learning experiences and mastery advisory group. Sorry, it's missing a letter. And then Albert on the college career and civic readiness advisory group. So while the final report was issued in June, they also presented it to the Board of Education at their June meeting. And I watched that meeting. I wanted to see what the conversation was at the board level, and I can kind of fill you in when we get a little bit further along. So the proposed statewide graduation requirements, this is not simply an MCAS replacement proposal. This is a pretty big overhaul for the state. The first is a set of 4 primary components. The first being foundational coursework having to do with MassCore. I didn't outline what MassCore is, but actually your graduation requirements in your policy are aligned with MassCore. 4 years of English, 3 years of math, including a year in the senior year, 3 years of lab science, et cetera, et cetera. So MassCore would be foundational across all districts, which right now it's up to individual school committees to determine through their graduation requirement policy. They are looking to institute end-of-course assessments in specific MassCore subjects. The proposal would be 1 each in ELA, math, and science, and they're currently considering history and social studies after a 9th or 10th grade course, which sounds a little like MCAS, but I think it would have maybe a few differences to be determined, really. Post-secondary planning through the use of MyCap. We use MyCap, and I'll talk a little bit about what implications exist. We currently have MyCap as part of our career and technical education program, and it is expanding to the intermediate school, and it's an opportunity for students to do post-secondary planning. But this proposal of MyCap would be much, much bigger. It would be for all students. It would include core outcomes, including financial literacy, AI and digital literacy, work-based learning, and completion of the FAFSA and MAFSA, with the opportunity for families to opt out if they chose from those applications. So it adds these defined milestones, and I think would require more collaboration across the entire school. Counselors, teachers, administrators, multilingual learner staff, career and technical education teachers, special ed, and potentially community and employer partners. So I think that's a big area of focus. And then a culminating experience of a capstone or portfolio. Districts may choose to offer one or the other, or both. Right now, we have some culminating experiences. We have a pretty strong internship program, but this would be, kind of universally for all. I'm just going to advance. I have some notes. I just want to make sure I'm going to talk about them at the right time. 5 embedded components, which I highlighted above. So the embedded components being those literacies, work-based learning, and opportunity to apply for college financial aid, and then also a component involving civic readiness. They're looking to promote additional seals of distinction as opportunities but not requirements for districts. As you know, we have the seal of biliteracy, which we're super, super proud of our students for their attainment of that. They're talking about other state-endorsed seals that could be attached to student diplomas based on certain measures that the state would come up with. And these graduation requirements, while extremely rigorous, are intended to be the floor, with local guardrails, and districts could add to them if they chose. I think in terms of implications for us, we are very closely aligned with MassCore for our graduates because of your graduation requirement policy. If you were to look at the data, there are some students who show that they don't meet the MassCore, but some of it is an artifact of timing, and it has to do with our summer programs and credit recovery, and the students will show up as not having met MassCore, but then they actually ultimately do, and they'll get kind of counted at a later point in time, I think. The end of course assessments, there's a lot to be determined about those, and that would be, kind of state run. Post-secondary planning is, with MyCap, is a pretty big lift, and would be really require an expansion beyond our current guidance department. And then the culminating experience might be the biggest lift of all, and we won't be able to wait until students are heading into their senior year to be planning for this. It's already a pretty daunting task to match our 70 interns, and now we'd be talking about nearly 300 or 320 people looking for internships and job opportunities in the community. So that's something that would require a pretty significant amount of planning. So the time frame for rollout is initially, I think, kind of reasonable, and then, but pretty quickly we're faced with a lot. So the current 8th graders, when they are enrolled in 9th grade for the 27-28 year, they're expected to be completing or working towards the MassCore requirements. And because your graduation policy is where it is, we're very close to that. There are some PE implications in making sure that everybody's got their physical education, but we are very, very close to MassCore completion. The remaining graduation requirements currently as proposed, and this could certainly change, would be for the current 7th graders. When they're in 9th grade in 28-29, they will be working towards end of course assessments, post-secondary planning through MyCap, and the culminating experience. That's a lot, and the board, I believe their meetings are recorded, so you could go back and watch them. The board did express, I think, both support with the idea that there was a rigorous standard for the state, but then also some concerns related to time frame and rollout and whether or not it was reasonable. There may also be, and this hasn't been sort of completely spelled out and laid out, there may also be some things that need to happen at the state level, like new legislation required, and that's going to take some time. So I think this is what's currently proposed for the time frame. I think that there's a lot to be determined, but now is the time for us to sort of wrap our heads around this and be thinking, and certainly anything that we're looking to implement should be looked at with a lens towards the possibility of this coming down the road. So the end of course assessments would be designed, administered, and scored by the state. Post-secondary planning, I already talked a lot about that for MyCap, and we would need to ensure implementation through advisories and things like stable time, building that into the day, or building it into our core curriculum. There may be integration with classes we're already running. And then the culminating experience would be defined by the state but administered and scored locally. So the report recommends that the department provide models, resources, and technical assistance as well as training. So we'll see what's to come there. People are recognizing financial resources and staffing are challenges. There is no appropriation attached to new graduation requirements at this time. There are some open questions about what flexibility will exist for different districts and different schools. For example, there has been flexibility among our technical high schools compared to comprehensive or academic high schools. There's some open questions about the state versus local roles. This is a pretty big shift from having kind of local control over graduation requirements, whether or not further legislation is needed. The state still needs to consider access for equity in terms of our multilingual learners, students with disabilities, students with a limited or interrupted formal education, students arriving late to Massachusetts and how their transcripts and opportunities that they may or may not have had get reviewed. But the goal here is to have one set of expectations regardless of a student's post-secondary goals. And then locally, we're going to need to be able to, we need to be able to support and analyze equitable access for all of our students. And, certainly I think there's policy implications here. So you can expect your graduation policy, competency determination will be reviewed regularly, I think, throughout this process. And then there will be bargaining implications for our collective bargaining agreements with our employees. So the current advice is to start planning now, especially for Mass Core. We're well positioned. Assessing any planned new initiatives for compliance with these requirements. I think we need to be mindful, but not to have a knee-jerk reaction about school committee policies, but be mindful about what policies might be relevant and need to be looked at. Assessing grant and pilot programs. We've been, in recent years, awarded multiple MyCap implementation grants, which has helped build out the scope and sequence of that post-secondary planning curriculum. And I think we're still waiting to hear on anything current for the current year. So that's TBD, but looking for grants and pilot programs. And right now doing a lot of communication here with you, with the teachers union and with our community. New legislation and certainly new regulations will be expected. So you'll see some of this talked about in the district improvement plan and the school improvement plans. I just wanted to take the opportunity to provide as much background information as we could now. It's going to be a major area of focus.
Any questions, comments? Jen?
That's big news, right? So a couple of things, I guess primarily is what does the pathway now look like? So it's being discussed, they're fleshing stuff out, then it goes to the legislature. I mean, like, what is the pathway?
Yeah, nobody's really laid it out. Nobody has laid out the pathway.
Yeah.
The legislature is in the second half of the second year. There's an election coming up, so I don't see any new legislation being proposed until January at the earliest, when kind of the new officials get seated and they start taking up new legislation. How fast and how quickly they're able to pass any new legislation, I think, is TBD. But in the immediate moment, I don't see any movement towards new legislation quickly because of just where they are in their cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I despise when they come out with stuff like this with no no pathway forward for people to be able to think about things and put thought into motion. One thing that strikes me about this is it requires this whole involvement of the community in a child's education as far as internships are concerned. That is a major thing, and I'm not sure that we have that relationship with our community to be able to do that. That is something that's built from communication and attendance at meetings and things. I mean, Dante had a great internship experience, and I'm sure all the other kids that were in internships had that. But we would be asking a lot of leaders in our community, people who don't even consider themselves leaders, to step forward to fill 225 other positions and make that a permanent position in their business. I mean, that's a really heavy lift, yeah. I think. It just seems like there's so many unknowns it's not even worth thinking about yet. But then I know what I fear most of all is that it'll all come crashing down in an unfunded mandate and boom. So, I mean, I'm glad we're aligned with the mass core part of it, but the rest of it is just extremely ambiguous at this point, right? It's frustrating. Thank you for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
Any other, Courtney?
Yeah, this is great to know. Definitely a big lift for the district. Can you explain a little bit more MyCap, like when they talk about students needing financial literacy? Personally, I agree that students, it would be great if they had more financial literacy, but MyCap is that very specific in how they get that versus our partnership with Cape Cod 5?
Yeah. It's a great question, and I'll invite Kristen to jump in. I think the state's trying to look for a solution, and so one of the solutions would be for the state to develop kind of a module through MyCap and have it be part of the scope and sequence. Financial literacy specifically, I think, was like the number one suggestion that was coming from listening sessions, including from students themselves. But this is where an open question about flexibility exists, because if the district has a current program like the Cape Cod 5 Credit for Life program, could we, open question, could we appeal to the state or petition to the state and say, we have this long-standing relationship, we love it, could we swap this out for the MyCap thing? I'd like to see flexibility in that way. I think it's TBD. Do you have anything else about MyCap?
Every senior participates in Credit for Life.
Yeah.
Is MyCap like a virtual high school that they sort of have to click through everything and pass like an online test? What is it?
It's really, so we're using Maya as a platform to support this. And so what it does is it's really guiding students through college readiness. And so part of it is college planning. It ties into the FAFSA piece. And there's a whole scope and sequence that exists and modules that exist to help students prepare. And then it's bringing these other pieces in to layer on to that.
And is this something funded by the state or something that the district has to pay for as a software?
We pay for
Yeah.
Maya.
Yeah.
We pay for Maya. We would use something independent of MyCap. We would have some sort of guidance software. Naviance is another program that some districts have used to help students with their post-secondary planning. I'm not sure that there's an incremental cost related to MyCap, except that staff time is going towards the implementation of MyCap. It's an expectation of the CTE programs. And we are getting some grant funding for some curriculum development there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. This is an important update, and I'm glad that it's being handled now, even though it is the summer months, but we're getting ahead of this, moving into the school year where there'll be more in the district improvement plan and further district-wide documents. To frame this, just so that the community is aware that, yes, Massachusetts decided that the MCAS will no longer be a standard requirement for graduation, but it was by no means unanimous. Okay, so 55% of citizenry said no MCAS. 45% of the citizenry said keep MCAS. Right, so just in terms of how we got to this point, you know, one of the things that I kind of lean into as an educator and somebody that supports schools is Massachusetts ranking atop the national, Massachusetts place atop the national rankings in education. All right, so this is it's specific to Barnstable, but then in the macro, you know, I'm proud to have gone through school, to work in schools where Massachusetts for many years, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the case. In 2026, we're number 1 in the nation. All right, and yes, MCAS is challenging, but there is a method in terms of why we do what we do. There's a method in terms of what we require of educators and administrators that has changed. You didn't have to pass an MTEL in time was. Now you have to pass an MTEL. You have to pass it for particular subjects. It's challenging, but educators put themselves through these challenges. Educators go back and get their master's degree. All right, so there's certain things that we do in Massachusetts that are challenging, that are rigorous, that are difficult, but at the end of that, we have a standing and we have a place that is not ubiquitous or universal. Everyone cannot say that they live in a state where you have the best public schools across the entire country. I say all that in terms of, I recognize the political aspect that you're talking about, but you know, it's going to be necessary for Barnstable to have, in my view, rigorous standards comparable to what we had with the MCAS. And then I'll go a step further. I think it's going to be important to see what other districts are doing in terms of their standards and requirements to make sure that, you know, that we are, we're requiring as much as any of the other leading districts in the state. I think that's another component of this. Yes, there's political uncertainty that, you know, we can only do so much. But I do feel that in the fierce competition for students and resources that's taking place, that this is an important indicator. You know, what is the standard? What are your standards for graduation? And if it's not going to be something that's universal across the board, well, then how does that stack up against other leading schools? And does Barnstable require as much? And again, I'm all for meeting people where they're, you know, it was 45 to 55. In terms of getting rid of MCAS. I just want to make that clear. So, you know, the 55 won by 10 points, but 45% of the people in the state said, you know, MCAS, it's challenging, it's rigorous, you know, we'll keep it. And so I think, again, it's important that you brought this up now, where we can kind of dive into this and then kind of going forward. But those are my thoughts in that we need strong standards comparable to what we had before. And then a secondary point, depending on where the state comes down on this, I don't want us to have any less stringent standards than other districts. Never mind the competition here on the Cape that we have for students, but across the board. You know, I think we should, you know, that bar that we require, you know, as, you know, when I talk to educators, one of the things that they keep saying is you need a high bar, and the students can make that. Set the bar high, and they will rise their level to reach it. And I think that's right, and I think that's where we need to be in terms of our graduation requirements.
Can I respond
Sure.
to that? I want to note where we currently are, because there is this interim step between MCAS being voted out and this proposal. And I just want to note and hang a sign on the incredible work that was done, in particular this year. It occurred last year a little bit, but to a lesser extent because MCAS was still sort of a thing. And that is the competency determination requirement and the standard that, you know, your curriculum directors, your curriculum coordinators under Kristen's leadership set for students to complete their coursework and then demonstrate mastery through end-of-course assessments. And the students themselves, this was new for kids. They haven't had midterms and finals in years. And to bring that back is a major culture shift and a major resetting of the bar and increasing the bar at the high school around our academic expectations. And when students didn't meet their competency, the efforts that people undertook to provide support, tutoring, retest opportunities to continue to get them to strive to meet that competency determination and work towards their graduation requirement was really remarkable this year. And the communication that it took, I really think it strengthened our programs. It strengthened I think it strengthened the standards, and so that has been underway. And I want to just take the opportunity to talk about it, because people did some really, including the students, did some really incredible work this year in ELA and math and science in particular.
Thank you for that clarification. Chair, just one more point that I just wanted to mention is that while we're discussing MCAS, that the score, you don't need to pass MCAS to graduate, but those scores are still attributed to the district.
Yes.
So the test scores for those still reflect what goes, so just, and then on the other side of that, something that I always allude to students is MCAS can be an opportunity to earn yourself a scholarship. Yep. And we've looked at this in the district. The students that have scored so high on MCAS that they've gotten full scholarships to state schools. Mm-hmm. So it's shifted, but just to keep those things in mind, it still reflects us in the district, and it's still a tremendous opportunity for you as a student and for your family. If you score at a certain level, then you will go to school to certain schools in Massachusetts. I imagine that number is going for free. So again, in terms of MCAS.
Sure.
So this is just such a huge list of stuff to do, and every school district is in a different place on the map, right? So, I mean, reason just says that this is going to be kind of gradually implemented. The first thing I hope will be the equity piece, right? And then maybe other things rolled out over a period of time. I get the idea of putting it for the 27, 28, 28, 29, aiming toward that. But there is no way that this is going to be implemented in 3 years. I mean, this is a big thing, especially when school committees have had an opportunity to line up what they think their criteria should be for graduation. So it's like right now, so I appreciate that we're focusing on it and that it's happening and that you're informing us, but this is like not even close to implementation yet. And it seems like there needs to be a lot needs to be. I mean, what are you going to do about the district that isn't in compliance with any of the basic stuff? Who's going to pay for that? The taxpayers strapped, right? I mean, that's crazy. So there's a lot that needs to be considered here. I don't see it happening in the next few years, but I appreciate it. I get the eye toward it, and I understand what's behind it. And MCAS, I think, is an important marker, and I think we need that. And we need to definitely improve the way we look when we Google ourselves with regard to that. So, and it's true, those midterms and finals really tightened the belt on a lot of people. I know it did in my house. So that was, I think it's always good to have expectations and to meet them, so, yeah, it's crazy. Thank you.
So the one point of clarification that I think needs to happen, not every single student has to have an internship. It was one of the ways to meet the capstone or portfolio. So I think in some of the talk back and forth, everybody having an internship doesn't have to happen, but yeah. Okay, moving on to more.
Yes.
Is item 5.2, new legislation and state initiatives that are affecting our schools.
So this is similar to the last presentation, but there's less information known about each of these areas. But I did, again, want to, as we think about coming into the 26-27 school year, as we think about putting the district improvement plan together, a lot has happened, even just within the last month, in terms of past legislation that has an impact on schools. And I guess I just wanted to sort of portray for the committee and the community some of the things that we are knowingly putting into our district improvement plan and giving you some background information, as well as some things that we're still waiting for additional clarification on. The first one is the Mass Leads Act. You can expect to see this in the district improvement plan at, I think, the September meeting. It was signed into law in November of 24, focusing on equity and diversity. It is not solely a school-based act, but there are various requirements for public schools. It's actually an economic development law. It involves diversifying our workforce. And for example, DESE is implementing alternative licensure pathways, including waivers of the communications and literacy MTELs. That went into effect this past spring, and we did share that information with our staff so they know that that is in place. In terms of highlights of district requirements related to diversifying our workforce is to develop a district diversity plan or strategic plan that includes a plan for diverse educators. So as you might expect, that third goal area that we've had for some time will continue forward. To name a DEI officer, and they do have flexibility for districts to choose how they go about it. It could be an existing employee, it could be a new position, or you could have a DEI group or committee that is designated. It also includes providing FAFSA and financial info aid info to students. We currently, I should have mentioned this with the graduation requirements, we currently do this. The guidance department is pretty assertive with providing this information. And then MAFSA as well, which is our state financial aid application. So that is involved in the Mass Leads Act. We need to have a plan, I think it's every 5 years, for diversity and implicit bias training to be inclusive of school committees. And then we are already doing this, but it involves reporting staff diversity information to the department annually. The current status and recommendations, according to this is from the Superintendent's Association, we are awaiting further guidance from DESE and the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination. It may be combined with the Student Opportunity Act and other initiatives. Every year we have to update where we are with our Student Opportunity Act plan, and this year in the update, Kristen had to kind of give a baseline of information of where we are towards Mass Leads. And in the meantime, reviewing our district strategic plans, considering and discussing this with our school committee related to the DEI officer, and review how FAFSA information is being shared. There's open questions remaining about funding and support at the state level, timing and implementation. We don't have any information around like expectations for compliance, but we know that this is something to be working on, and I think the good news is we have been. And so wanted to bring the awareness to you about the Mass Leads Act. As you know, there are new regulations for restraint, timeout, and seclusions. We had a very in-depth presentation with Michael Joyce last week. He's so phenomenal in terms of being our school attorney. He was an educator himself, and he never forgets that. And he thinks like an educator, he thinks like a parent, in addition to thinking like an attorney. And so he's really phenomenal. These are updated regulations that were put in place to comply with federal laws. And the most important pieces that are new and a change is that they have revised definitions and requirements for timeout and timeout spaces and seclusion, and reemphasizes kind of restraint practices, which we already have in place. It went into effect on Monday, August 17th. As you know, we have your new policy as of the last meeting. We have a whole packet of materials. Vanessa and Abby have been working on local procedures to make sure that we'll be compliant. And we've been, doing district training for the last year on this, but it's really within the last couple of months that people have been able to kind of wrap their head around all the changes. And we'll provide ongoing support and training as we head back to school, and mandated training for all of our staff in September. But there are some major changes to timeouts and seclusion, and it's an important area of focus for our teams, and so you'll hear more about that in the district improvement plan as well. The MCAS Family Portal is new. So at the end of the year, the department announced they were launching the MCAS Family Portal. It was initially planned for June. They paused and postponed it to August. It's been challenging for us to implement. Most of our staff are not here in the summer, including admin assistants who return next week. So I unfortunately had to send a note to families that they will be getting more information later in the summer. But we have a plan. We're ready to send the access codes out to families with instructions on how they can access their students' MCAS scores. It is going to be preliminary scores at first, and then the scores don't get finalized until later in the fall. We anticipate that there'll be a lot of questions, and that there will be a pretty significant administrative effort at the start of the school year. Buildings are responsible for facilitating access, ensuring families have clear and accurate information and results, and distributing the results to the students. We need to have people, and we do have people available to assist parents in interpreting the results and accessing the results. Our liaisons, I'm sure, will do an amazing job, but there will probably be lots of questions at the same time to admin assistants and principals. And the individual results are being released prior to any comparison data, so the state level data isn't yet available, and so parents may have a difficult time with interpretation. And our understanding is that we are responsible for technical issues and helping families troubleshoot, which I think we're a little worried about that. We don't have ourselves, we don't have access as a parent to look at what their window looks like, and so we might be a little limited. I guess my warning, my big takeaway here is it might be a little bumpy, but we're going to be doing our best to get that MCAS information out to families within the next couple weeks. And then within the last week or two, there has been several new laws that are brand new, and so there's a lot to wait and see in terms of implementation. The PROTECT Act was passed into law on August 5th. This is an act that in Massachusetts to protect courts and schools from ICE enforcement, warrantless ICE enforcement, which actually seems consistent with current practice and all of the guidance that we've had before, which is that a judicial warrant would be needed. So I'm still waiting on current directions, new directions, and if anything is really changing for staff and families with that. August 7th, an act enhancing child welfare protections was passed. I alluded to this related to the Summer Leadership Institute. This has been kind of pending in the legislature for a while, and they did act on it, and it changes it changes the referral process, and I think will reduce referrals to the district attorney's office and the courts when a student is chronically absent or a child is a habitual school offender. They're really trying to put more supports in place earlier before there's just sort of a court referral. It changes the age for which students would be filed on for court assistance from currently the band is 6 to 16. It would change from 12 to 18 if they're involved in school at that 17 and 18 year mark. It goes into effect next year. But we're already starting, and you'll see this in the district improvement plan, planning some engagement with the family resource centers to provide more supports to students and families. And we just had some representatives attend the Summer Leadership Institute, including Jason Gordine, who with Molly Titus presented, and I think have some really great ideas about how we can better partner. And then the Freedom to Read law was just passed on August 10th. That was actually sponsored by Senator Sear here from the Cape and Islands. It may have potential implications for your policy on instructional materials reconsideration and library collection, but it is a law to strengthen the right to read and to put some additional processes in place when books are challenged, and some protections in place for librarians and teachers around books that might get challenged. So still more to come there. So we're waiting on additional advice from organizations and legal counsel. But it's been very, very active. And I wanted to just sort of highlight some of these things and give you some background information in advance of any district or school goals that may come your way. I'm not done. This is a big one related to our employees. There is an act relative to benefits for teachers and an act relative to retirement election. One is the House version and one is the Senate version. They have each passed a version, and it is currently in the conference committee to compromise. It may accelerate the retirement of educators all across the state. And it has to do with whether or not they opted into Retirement Plus, which was a higher contribution, which meant that you would get to your pension at an earlier point in time. There's about 8,000 to 9,000 educators in the state who did not opt in to this higher amount, and they may be provided with a opportunity they'd have to pay, and with interest, buy back that time, giving them access to their pension at a higher rate at an earlier point in time. We are anticipating, we have when we look at our kind of demographics of our staff, we're anticipating a lot of retirements within the next 5 years. And I think, again, you'll see some things in the district improvement plan around recruitment and retention of educators. I think we're going to need to be planning for some succession planning for turnover of staff. And this may change the pattern a little bit. It may create like 2 windows of folks rather than one big exodus. But we do need to be thinking about retirement of employees within the next couple of years. And then the Study Act, the current status, you have the bell-to-bell cell phone policy that you just implemented. Again, the Senate and House have each passed versions, and it's currently pending compromise in the conference committee. So those are some of the big legislation packages that are on the table. And if I can answer questions, I will, but I just wanted to sort of frame what feels like a very busy time to you, to let you know what we're thinking, what we're sort of managing, and then how it may show up in district goals.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I have a comment about
Jen?
the first, the Mass Leads Act. We talk in this chamber all the time about there not being enough people of color, enough teachers of color, enough representation in our staff. And I just want to point out again that and I know it has to go through the town council and all of that, but sometimes it helps to push the thread through the needle and pull the thread through the needle at the same time. So this is an opportunity with the Seasonal Communities Act and the local option to be able to actually reserve housing for core people and core employees. So I think that this committee should really consider however we can amplify the need for that, because Barnstable is not yet a seasonal community. Because we had a larger amount we've a larger population, we haven't met the threshold for having too many seasonal homes. But so that would have to go through the town council to be accepted. And then after that, there would have to be accepted the local option, which allows us that it's a really amazing opportunity to be able to fill out the missing middle here with directed housing. I think that the timing is perfect, and we just have to frame it so that we can work together and make that happen. Because this is the moment we've been waiting for, when we have the push and the pull happening. So we should be part of that, and that's just an opinion. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. I concur with my colleague that any and all opportunities that we have available to us need to be deployed, in order to make sure that our staff reflects the community, and we are taking from the very best and brightest, which are most certainly here in the Commonwealth. And so, we've discussed a greater partnership between the committee, town council, CFAC, and so that's been brought up a number of times in terms of the Seasonal Community Act. And by the way, that's not just to diversify our staff, which makes dollars and cents. We do know that the more a staff reflects its community, the greater academic and social and emotional achievement you're going to see. So we're talking about basic common sense here. But those resources in terms of housing, which is a conversation that we have, and we're talking about housing for people that are serving the community, our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our nurses, right? The vital, and amongst others. So, we have so many great things here in Barnstable, and, more and more people are having those challenges, and people are having to cross the bridge to be here. So I concur with my colleague on that point. Just did want to speak to Retirement Plus that you mentioned, and again, the shifting demographics and the opportunity for more staff members to opt into that program. And So I think that that's very positive. You don't, we want educators to be able to leave on their own terms, right? Being an educator, you don't want it to be a situation where 5 more years, goodness. Oh my God, I don't know if no, you want them to say, no, I have 2 more years, and this is what I want to achieve in those 2 years. And that institutional knowledge, I think it's twofold. I'm glad that we have this, and we want to make it more accessible to educators, and for educators to know how valuable you are in the district. For newer teachers, for mid-career, those teachers, I think we do a tremendous job that's been bolstered over the years with our retirement dinner. And, we want to celebrate you guys, our educators going out, riding off into the sunset. And so that opportunity for those educators is great. The bell-to-bell cell phone ban, I know that we have a policy in place, and this is something that's still being debated and negotiated. So the state has not come down with any de facto, but I know that we do have a policy.
Nothing final. It's still being worked out between the two houses.
And again, we're looking at this. We're addressing the impacts of technology, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be screen time, and we're receptive to feedback from the community on this. But it's something that we are addressing because there is too much, as far as I'm concerned, hot media. There is too much flickering images that you're being exposed to, and that is different than cold media. That's different than reading words on a page and letting your mind generate the images, the ideas, the expression. They're 2 different things, and we have far too much, as some would say, of the one. I appreciate the update relative to restraints. We discussed that. That's something, being on the collaborative, that we've discussed previously, and we had the leadership of Michael Joyce on that. A DEI officer. I want to give the community, right, because we use words and phrases, and what are we talking about? DEI can be a buzzword, so I just want to clarify there, because we have had a civil rights officer, if I'm not mistaken. Those that have been in the district for some years can clarify me, can create clarification. But this was a role that John Reed had in Barnstable for a number of years. If I'm not mistaken, he was our civil rights officer. John Reed was a Barnstable educator for decades, somebody that wore many hats in this town and had a tremendous impact on my life and many students' lives, as well as the other educators of his generation contributed greatly. But I recall as I was getting myself involved in education, getting my licensure, and he was a mentor to me. That's one of the titles that he had. He was the civil rights officer, and again, I believe that was the term. And he would look at issues again related to meaning everybody's civil rights, right? The rights that you have under the Constitution as a student, as a staff member, so on and forth. So just to clarify, because words matter and phrases matter and acronyms matter, right? When we're talking about a DEI officer, it's somebody to support the civil rights of the students, the staff members, the administrators in the district. That's what we're talking about, unless I'm mistaken. And we do have a precedent for a similar role. Okay, the language was different, but as far as I know, it was a similar role. I appreciate the update relative to FAFSA funding and making sure our students have an awareness of the funding that's available for them as they kind of move forward. And I just wanted to conclude with the Freedom to Read law, which was more recently passed. And I did see that our very own state senator, Senator Sear, had a hand in that. But that relates to, if I'm not mistaken, the library materials and what is accessible in the library, and the process if there is a challenge, if there is a concern, if there is an issue, the process that you go forward with, if you have any of those things, right? If I'm understanding, and that's just passed on the 10th. I did see Julian Sear was associated with that, but just for the community to understand, that it's not saying that this is going to be in the library and this is not going to be in the library, or we're going to have this and we're not going to have that. What it's looking at is the process if there is a challenge. If you, anybody, you know, if this is in the library and you have questions, why is it in the library? It's kind of codifying what the process now is for that, for you have every right to have it. These are public institutions. So just to, and then for feedback, again, thank you this is very new. It's a week or so old, you know, so we're still getting guidance, but that's what that represents. And if anybody has questions, comments, concerns, please let us know and we'll go forward. Thank you.
Courtney, do you have anything?
No, it seemed very thorough and lots of things to keep on our horizon.
All right, thank you. All right, finance and facilities. Item 6.1, update on facilities and technology summer projects. Welcome, Doug.
We also have Katri, the Deputy Director, Katri Balali, in the audience. And Bryce Harper did contribute to the presentation. He couldn't be here. He had a previous commitment, but both Doug and I can jump in and share about those
and that's
projects.
also why Katri's here. So if there's any questions that come up, to get into anything more specific. Clicker. And as Dr. Hearn said, there's been some changes, some updates, so I'm going to try and go off the slideshow versus mine. All right, this project, this presentation is basically based on how our summer went. And across the district with some capital improvement projects. Some of these projects are still ongoing. And in this, I also tried to give an approximate price. I think a lot of it was because of some of the projects that Bryce was working on. We didn't really have specific dollars. Plus, also, this is kind of like a give or take. But these are close to what we were spending per capital improvement projects. But then some of the projects that we did at the school were above and beyond capital. For instance, this first slide, we're talking about Barnstable Community Innovation School. I also started putting in the date that these were built. I'm hoping that can kind of help when we talk about these capital improvements going forward. So at the Community Innovation School, new exterior doors and hardware are actually being installed as we speak. We got a lot of the exterior doors around the perimeter, but at this particular school, we have temporary doors at this one. We're working through that. The door project will include adding a new visitor management system at the front entrance. I'm working with Bryce on that one. And of course, Bryce did the new PA system, new phones, upgraded cameras were being installed over the summer, inside as well as out. And some new touch screens. Again, that's changed since I've put this together. The touch screens are I think there's a back order on some of them, so not all the schools have them as we speak. But it is part of the projects that we were working on this summer. At Barnstable, West Barnstable Elementary School, a new roof over the gym and cafeteria. That was being slated to be installed this summer with an end of August completion schedule. We're now running into a bit of a permitting issue on this one. So we're looking at revamping the schedule. It's probably going to be an October 1st start. That will work better with the school and the disruption that will cause. But we will continue also with the roof repairs that ice damage was causing and has caused. Again, new phones were installed and upgraded, new PA system at this school as well. Just to note, the gym floor replacement has been moved to the summer of 2027. And giving a rough idea on this one, about $313,500 and $500 was being spent at this school. All right, let's jump over to Hyannis West Elementary School, built in 1953. A new PA system was installed at the beginning of the summer. New phones were installed over the summer. We completed the installation of the DDC, that's the direct digital controllers, for the univents in that system for better efficiency. We cleaned up and pruned the trees in the courtyard. They were abutting and touching the building. And then, as a lot of you might have noticed, tree clearing and pruning took place along West Main Street. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on that from a lot of residents and parents, which gives an open view of the school. Approximately, we spent about $51,800 there. Of course, we talked a little bit about the new project that's going on and the cleanup at the Early Learning Center, because it's not just new phone systems and new PA system, but now we're taking care of a slight classroom issue that took place in the last couple weeks there. Centerville Elementary School, built in 1956, expanded in 1970. Demolition of the modular classroom structure taking place this summer, scheduled to be completed by late August. It has been completed. What's not completed is the landscaping that needs to be put back to cover up that nasty mess. So we're going to get some soil dropped off and then some topsoil and clean up that area and put a green grass and lawn there. We completed the installation of the DDC, again, direct controllers for the Univent system there. The playground improvements we're working on, and roof repairs are still being scheduled as we speak. Next Wednesday. So still in August. Now at Barnstable United Elementary School, built in 1995. The design and development of the new HVAC system continues. Of course, we've talked about this becoming more of an MSBA project possibly. The chilled water piping in the interim, that water pipe wrapping and installation is taking place as we speak. It still continues to be worked on now. This is to support the existing AC system. The chiller for this school has been turned on. The chiller is now cooling the school, but of course, we're finding a lot of leaks and issues with it. So addressing those as we find them. Katri's been working with our contractors to make sure that we're fixing the leaks that we're finding as we find them. Of course, that compromises more installation, so we're addressing that. But as of a meeting this morning, we asked the engineer as well as the contractor his confidence in this. He feels very confident if we get the leaks that we're finding addressed. Anything else, would have presented itself by now. So we're pretty confident that we'll be able to leave the chiller on for the fall and then hopefully be able to use it in the spring. Again, this school also got a new PA system and new phones. The exterior doors and hardware. We did all the hollow metal doors at this school, and they've all been painted, new hardware on them, but the storefront is still waiting to be delivered. This school will be receiving a new vestibule wall inside of it, new doors, new automatic doors as well. And I'll be working with Bryce and his team on just how that automatic door works with our RFID and access, as well as the visitor management system that will be installed there. Give or take $529,000 at this school. West Villages Elementary School. This summer, new exterior doors and hardware, which included a new interior vestibule glass wall and new doors at the main entrance, and preparing for the addition of the new visitor management system. Again, this one is also delayed. We're looking at hopefully next week with this new interior wall and vestibule work. Problem was that the aluminum storefronts, the aluminum doors and storefronts are a little bit back ordered, so we're having to deal with that. We're working on the pivot and what we're going to have to do if we have to postpone this and do it after school opens, but our contractor is telling us next week. Design work for the cooling tower is completed and ready to go out to bid. I'll be working on what that entails going forward with Sarah and Chris. So far for this summer, $518,600. There's also been some emergency sidewalk repair that's going to be taking place. We've scheduled that for next week. Some new curbs, some new sidewalks over by the auditorium entrance. A student fell and hurt himself last year at the end of the school year because the concrete and the sidewalk is all failing. So we're repairing that next week. At the Barnstable High School, this is built in its current location in 1957, expanded in 1963, and then, of course, in 76, and then the big one where we added the Performing Arts Center in the 1990s. At the high school, the tennis court renovation and the addition of 2 brand-new pickleball courts are expected to be completed by the end of August. I don't know if everybody's driven by that. It's looking pretty good, coming along. The culinary classroom project is scheduled to be completed during the second half of August. We're actually going to walk the punch list next week. I was in that school yesterday looking at this project. It's in great shape. It's ready to go. We just need to finalize the final equipment to be installed. The audiovisual replacement taking place, upgrades in the PAC. I think Bryce was going to talk to that. It's pretty much everything behind the curtain, if you think of it that. Stage behind, so he's working on that. We're excited about these new developments, bringing it up to modern times, adding some, like, I think, Andre mentioned the 2 new larger screens in the auditorium. And we will now be going and looking at a designer to look at the front of house being the chairs, the carpet, the drapes, the walls, and anything construction related. Again, the high school received new phones and a new PA system. That was completed, I believe, this past week. And this school also received new DDC controllers to the HVAC system and exhaust fans. And now we're working on some of the heating system DDC controllers that'll be taking place. Again, at the high school, because you're including the tennis courts, we're over $2.3 million this summer for this project, for the school, for the projects that are taking place there. Barnstable Intermediate School, built in 1976, expanded in 1999. HVAC system is being completed. It's actually, the HVAC system is on. The balancing is taking place, and the contractor is basically backing out of the building as we speak, which is tying up loose ends, cleaning up behind themselves. So far, so good. Everything's working out pretty well there. We cleaned, had all the existing ductwork cleaned. Of course, new digital controls were installed as a part of this project for better efficiency. And this school also, which was supposed to happen this week, now it's being pushed to next week, new exterior doors and vestibule improvements. The exterior doors, again, hollow metal doors, which are in your stairwells, your fire exits, are all installed. They're all painted. But the vestibule improvements and the new walls in that vestibule have not arrived yet. We did replace the flooring in that vestibule, and we're going to be doing walk-off mats. And then when the new walls come in, that vestibule will be have automatic door operators, a new visitor management system will be installed, as well as now the elevator will be, if you remember where it is in the front of that school, the elevator will now be part of the school, not a part of the vestibule. You won't be able to just come into the vestibule and head to the elevator, which will be a safety concern. So there'll be 2 new walls going inside that vestibule. Of course, the school also received a new PA system, new phones, touch screens are on order. About $3.4 million on this school because of the HVAC. So that brings us to an approximate total cost for the summer of 2026 projects throughout the district of $7.6 million being spent this year, this summer, across the district. Any questions?
Thank you, Doug. Any questions, Jen?
I have a couple. So just for clarification, BCIS, we're waiting on doors for them, or everything's been done?
No, we're waiting on doors.
We're waiting
At
on
BCIS,
doors.
unfortunately, that was the only school that had asbestos. So the doors themselves, around the frames had asbestos, the caulking had asbestos, so they had to have a separate demo contractor come in and remove all those doors. All those doors of that school are all aluminum, and that's the problem. The aluminum doors are the holdup. Okay. So we have temporary doors installed. The building department and are fine with what we have. We still have appropriate egress and exits. The front doors still remain in place and will remain in place until we have the new doors. So we're working on that. And then the interior vestibule work I'm trying to get to take place at the beginning of next week.
So what's the ETA on the doors?
They're telling me sometime next week. And I've asked as of this morning, I want a realistic answer.
Yeah. Then another question is, what's the problem with the permitting? Like, aren't we the town?
Actually, for Barnstable, West Barnstable, it's all state highway.
Okay.
They're getting involved, and it's a
Okay.
roof, and we're actually making the roof look like the rest of the roof. So it's basically a historic issue.
Okay.
So that's what's holding it up. So
All right.
I'm hoping a couple calls will make it back on track and expedite it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. Did have a question about the visitor management systems that are, see going in across the district.
Correct.
A number of the schools, the United School, West Villages, Jen just alluded to BCIS. You just spoke to some of the upgrades at the intermediate school in terms of, and I, I'm in favor firmly, of these safety measures, and people kind of getting used to it. I go to the high school, you check in, but one of the, I don't have a problem with these measures, if it's, again, making the operations more safe, more secure, more reliable, so on and forth. So I'm glad, we had been talking about the vestibule of BCIS, but I'm seeing, it's a number of schools across the district where these visitor management systems are being employed. And there may be a little bit of a learning curve. There may not. I'm in favor of it, is what I'm saying, and I'm glad to see that it's going on across the board rather than just at a specific elementary school. In your presentation, I again, this is one of these things. It's very helpful for people to see when the buildings were built. Again, everyone is not history. I've taught special ed. I love it. I started off in history. So I'm a history person, and so those things resonate with me. And, the fact that, what's now St. John Paul used to be the high school, that's where my grandmother graduated from.
Right.
And we
Yes.
have her, and it's still a school building, and it's still effective. And St. John Paul, they do a great job there, but, it's been there for some years. And so you have to understand the space in that capacity, and I think that's helpful for people, regardless of what the overall decision is, but it's very helpful for me. And I think it's helpful for the community. And these are the upgrades that are being made to these buildings so that, these buildings have, they're great buildings, still getting a lot of outstanding use. But again, they do date back to some of them, the post-World War II era. And so just kind of, that's why it's helpful for people to see, and it's helpful for people to recognize this visitor management system that we are modernizing so that we have the safety protocols in place. Buildings that, I don't know if we would have to go through this if a building was built, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. It would have these modern features that we are employing. And I'll just conclude. We did get a chance to see ourselves, and I'll include it in my slides, the pickleball courts they look really good. They look really nice. Just that space. I know there's still things that have to go in, so on and forth. But it's not just a pickleball court. It's also for our tennis team. The last state championship that we've had on the boys' side is our boys' tennis team in 2015. And our girls' tennis program is tremendous as well. But I think that's a nice feature that people will appreciate. And there's a little bit of space. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. That area, you got a little bit of space, between. So it's a school complex. So there's some space. I know sometimes the sound is something that people allude to, but we have some space there so that shouldn't be interfering with anything, and people can enjoy that. And I know people love the West Villages courts, and so now you have courts right there at the high school. Go to get on out there and get active. So I was glad to see that as well. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No. Thank you so much. Very informative. Nice to be updated. Thank you, Katri.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you for
your
having
time.
me. Or both of us.
Okay.
I got that in a row. There we go.
All right. Item 6.2, approve a signing bonus for the bus drivers. I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Thank you. So there's a memo in your packet from Sandy recommending that you award signing bonus to bus drivers, again, as a recruitment effort. I say again because you do it you've done it annually for the past several years. She outlines for non-licensed candidates a $1,500 sign-on bonus, $500 paid on getting the license, and then $1,000 after 6 months of continued employment in good standing. And then for candidates who already hold the CDL, a $2,000 sign-on bonus, $500 upon getting licensed to drive, and then the remaining $1,500 after 6 months of continued good standing. They require fewer hours of training. And because they already have the commercial driver's license. We did have 2 people come on board last year with this signing bonus, and we're constantly trying to find ways to remain competitive. It's hard to recruit drivers, and we're in competition with our neighbors for that. So hope to have your support.
Can I ask one question? Oh, okay. Move to approve a signing bonus for bus drivers as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
All right, having a motion made and seconded, any discussion?
So, can people apply for these roles without a CDL license?
They can, and then I'm interpreting it that way. And then there is paid training that we do.
So the school will sponsor them to get their CDL? Wow. Anyone listening, that's a great deal.
Sandy trains them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.3, recommend a contract term of up to 10 years for regular school bus transportation. Sarah?
So Chris will join if you want more financial details, but the next 2 items are similar to something you passed in July. We need to go out to bid for our bus contract. In July, you approved a recommendation that the town council authorize an up to 10-year lease for bus parking. This is the contract that we would then follow that bid with, which would be for regular school transportation to request and recommend to the town council a contract term of up to 10 years. You currently have a 10-year contract, and it's been good to have.
All right. Move to recommend that the town council authorize the school committee to enter into a contract term of up to 10 years for regular school bus transportation.
Second.
All right, having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Jen?
So when we approve a 10-year contract, that's not price specific. It is, what is the, right? It's 10-year, because if prices go down.
I don't know the terms of the contract super well in a contemporaneous way. I don't know, Chris, if you have anything to add, but it has locked us into some favorable pricing for the 10 years.
Yeah, but eventually this administration will end and prices will come down, and hopefully, right? And like, I wouldn't want to lock us in at the high point, right? Plus, I just like to get Chris up here.
Thanks, Jen. It's good to move around a little bit. Thank you. So it's typically structured, you'll do a 5-year agreement, and the annual price for those 5 years will be laid out. And then the bidders will include 5 one-year extensions typically. Sometimes they'll do 1 2-year extension and then 3 1 years. But they'll list those out as options with the pricing included so that you know ahead of time whether or not you want to move forward typically with those extensions, or you'd rather go out to bid after the 5-year. But typically, we always go out for these 10 years for an initial 5-year agreement, and then the other 5 are optional extensions.
5 years with an option. I think we should reword it. That's great. Thank you. Yep. Yeah. That's it.
All right, any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.4, recommend a contract term of up to 5 years with a food service management company. Sarah?
Thank you. So similarly, we're going to be going out to bid for food services. We're in the 5th and final year of the contract. It had been with the Abbey Group, but then they got bought out by Whitson's. By state law, you can only do a 5-year contract. So this one is worded as a recommendation to town council to enter into a 5-year contract. The current contract we have was a 1-year contract with 4 one-year additions, just by way of background. And so that would be our request of you, is that we can ask the town council for approval to go out for up to 5-year contract.
Move to recommend that the town council authorize the school committee to enter into a contract term of up to 5 years with the food service management company.
Second.
Any discussion? Having a motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.5, approve 3 instructional assistant positions, 3 full-time, 3.0 full-time equivalents.
Thank you. So the model for our NEC program is that each classroom has 1 teacher and up to 7 students. Each student has a 1-to-1 instructional assistant. So not all of our classrooms are full, and so we have the teacher support for those rooms, but we do need to add 3 IAs. And they get hired at the district level and then assigned to the schools as needed. So we're looking for the addition of 3 instructional assistant positions.
Move to approve 3 FTE instructional assistant positions.
Second.
All right. Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Jen?
What is the salary associated with this?
Chris, do you off the top of your head know? Like 45,000 maybe? IAs, it's about 45,000.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6.6, approve accounts payable warrant, fiscal year 27, warrant number 7.
Move to approve accounts payable warrant fiscal year 27, warrant number 7, in the amount of $1,039,821.45.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 7.1, the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes the approval of the school committee workshop minutes of July 15, 2026, the school committee meeting minutes of July 15, 2026, acceptance of fiscal year 25 end-of-year financial report, and the fiscal year 27 grants, gifts, and donations.
Move to approve the items in the consent agenda as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 8.1, future agenda items. Anybody have anything? Andre?
Thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate, previously said, I do believe the discussion relative to the changing technologies needs to be looked at consistently in the district. And so I think an agenda item or the AI task force giving a presentation to start the school year would be expedient. And along with that, I believe a subcommittee, Culture and Climate Subcommittee, would be helpful for the school committee in terms of looking at these indicators historically and currently across the district.
Anybody else? Thank you. Item 9.1, move to go into executive session to reconvene an open session to approve the school committee executive session minutes of July 15, 2026, and to release the executive session minutes of December 8, 1975 through March 20th, 2024.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, this is a roll call vote. Jen? Yep. Andre?
Yes.
Courtney?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we're now headed to executive session. We are now back, reconvened in open session. Item 10.1, approve the release of the executive session minutes of December 8, 1975 to March 20, 2024.
Move to approve the release of the executive session minutes of December 8th, 1975 to March 20th, 2024, as presented in tonight's materials.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move to adjourn the school committee meeting of August 19th, 2026.
Second.
Having a blank, is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Having a motion made and seconded. This is a roll call. Jen? Yep. Andre?
Yes.
Courtney?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.